Okay. Another year, another advent of code. Looking forward to tackling this year's challenges. Only 12 of them, but that means they're going to be double as great, hopefully. For those who aren't aware, I am going to tackle these advent of code problems as they release, do my best solving them. I will attempt to make it easy to follow along, good old stream of conscious. No, I don't need to install that random stuff. Gonna go with TypeScript, have an instance of Quokka running, and download the solution as it comes out, and we will see how it goes. Okay, here goes nothing. Okay, solution downloaded, and we have to actually read it, probably. Okay, lots of stuff. I'll actually read it later. Looks like we have directions and deltas. Let's bring that example down, paste it, trim the white space. Let's see, points. This example gives me the number 3. Okay, now the unfun part, I have to actually read it. So this is degrees, 50, rotate, 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 rotate. Is it a 360-degree thing? Putting in 11, R8 with 19. Where's the rollover? 99. Okay, so the rollover is 99. Gotcha. So cost changes. Nope. Line of data split by new line. Trim for paranoia. Then I have direction. I believe that starts off as 0. Does it start off at 0? Pointing at 0. Oh, this is the number times slot pointing at 0. So now starts pointing at 50. Okay. And then cost direction equals the first character of the line. Cost change equals line slice 1. Convert that to a number. Let's see, don't import whatever that is. Direction and change. We have both of them. So it's basically just make the change, see if it hits zeros. So let's zeros equals 0. Return the number of zeros. And then I believe, okay, I'm just gonna make the change. So direction, well, if it's left, it's negative. So if direction equals L, change times equal -1. They make that a let, so it's mutable. There we go. Now I've made it negative. Now direction plus equal change. And now make that mutable. Well, direction 2. There we go. And that one's fine. And now we have to make sure it just rolls over between the 0 and the 99. So I'm going to do it the lazy way. Might be the harder way, but send 0, direction equals direction. Oh, whatever that is. Might be the right way, might be not. It's okay. And then if direction equals 0, add 1 to zeros. Okay, I have failed that. So let's see what this ends up being for each of these. So we have direction 2, what I'm changing, actual change, and then the ended up direction. So I have obviously done math horrible, so we'll do that before. Give us a before and after, so we're at 50, and then we end up pointing at 81. 82, oh no, my math is off by 1. So then it goes to 82. Did I do that? Nope. 81. Rotated L68. Is this the one that needs to be? Okay. So 50 plus negative 68 is supposed to get us to 82. Okay. If I've done the typo there, I've probably done it here. Okay, what else have I done wrong? The next one, left 30 gets us to 52. Good. And then we hit 0. Oh, here's my problem. Okay, good. And then we're running on the real stuff with 5 billion console logs, so let's not do that. 445. That is not the right answer. Darn it. That's okay. So it's probably one-off math again in some way. $445. What's the answer? The number of times the dial is left pointing after 0 after any rotation in the sequence. Bring these back. Let's see where I'm making the obvious failure. Don't console log that. Hold on. That was weird there. So 82, 50, 0, 95, 55, 0, 99, 0, 14, 32. 3 times during this process, the password is 3. Correct, but not happy. There's a possibility, which I'm going to go check on. 445. I typed it in 445. Okay, still not the right answer. Well, time to go through the actual input. See what we got here. Ooh, we have numbers that are larger than 100. I am not handling that. So, this can't be an if, this has to be a while. 1089, that'll do it. Assumptions. Oh, okay, I have to wait. But yeah, I was only handling one rolling over of the dial, which didn't handle 733 rotations to the left, for example. That would do it. 1089. I don't think it's been... Has it been that many seconds yet? 10 seconds, okay. It's not this. I'm gonna blame all off by 1 errors. Yay, okay, number 2. Please use password method. Great, give me new example. New output is 6 for the exact same input. We love it. Okay, what have we done wrong this time? Count the number of times any click caused the dial to point to 0, regardless of what happens during rotation. Okay, that's not too harder. Those are words. Yep, those are the words I chose to use. It's basically anytime it crosses the 0. So basically whenever these would hit and these would hit, anytime it hits 0. So I could try and be cheeky here and just crack this open. I feel like it's going to be littered with off by 1s. But it might also just work. Crazy enough, it might work. I don't think we'll need that anymore. Probably have to spell this correctly. It did. I do not have a lot of confidence in this. Yeah, I didn't feel like it. It also probably doesn't handle hitting the 0. So let's see if we bring this back. So 6536. Ooh, well, it hates that. Okay. The dial reporting at 50, a single will cut 10 times before return back to 50. That's a good example. Let's target that test case. They did specifically call it out for a reason, so we will follow that reason. It says root cause of the point is 10 times before returning back to 50. Well, my stuff is working. Okay, that's good. Interesting. 6536. Now I'm getting paranoia that I didn't type it in right. 6536. Okay. But I've been pasting it in, so that is unwarranted paranoia. Okay, the number of times we hit the 0. Well, the laziest thing is chucking this into a loop and literally being like, hey, every time I'm gonna change it one by one, I feel like computation's going to hate me. 6536. Okay, that's incorrect. Can't think of anything else at the moment, so might as well do something. Um, do. It's interesting I have to kind of not do this and just be like, hey, just keep going, and then I'll flip it over to the other side when either of these happen. So it'll come back in as an if. Drop that, drop that, drop the whiles. Oh, my keybinds are a little messed up. I'll do whatever that is. And then direction plus equals change. Well, if I do have to bring this logic back in, direction to L. And technically, it's -1, otherwise it's 1. So this is just the same thing, terribly inefficient. Every time you touch a 0, I got you. So I'm just gonna be like, hey, if direction equals 0, boom. Well, my logic must be flawed here somewhere. Going left, -1, right, +1. If you hit 0, great. If you're over 99, inclusive or exclusivity, that's what's messing we up now. Okay, well, for each of these, I should still be able to get the same information out. Direction, so change and direction. So let's see, 82, 52, 0, 95, 55. 82, 52, 0, 95, 55, 0, 99, 0, 14, 32. Okay, I did that. And it says 1. Wait, why do you have 3 times? Oh, the ending and the hitting? Oh, wait, how does that? During this rotation, it points at it, and then it ends at it. So it should be hitting all those. Log the changes. So yeah, 68 triggers, and then 48 should trigger. 48 doesn't trigger. It's something obvious. Maybe I should read it more. That's gonna be a lot of console logs, but I can do it. 48. Well, 49. Well, I put on there, so that's not helpful. 50. Yeah, you go down so far. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, they all go this correct amount. I count if you ever hit the 0. I feel like this is moot. Yeah, it's 12. Back to the same stuff that got us here in the first place. Maybe number different. 6536. No, number not different. Let me look at the input. Number of times the dial ever points to 0. I definitely feel like logically I want to do this, but for the test it's failing. The dial was pointing at 50, so rotation. Click the dot point to the other ones. Let's kill this one. 20 is not equal 10, yeah. Interesting. Because 0 and 99 are valid, so I will want to flip when you go past them. Whether it happens during a rotation or at the end of one. Let's just see what we hit here all the way. Yep, and then we hit one, we would have triggered it, and that, ooh, I see we skip over. That's not how the dial actually works. We'd never want to go to -1. Oh, it probably corrects it down here. Look at this one. Yeah, and then boom, it flips over. Logical. So what if I put my check for 0 down here, because I had it up there? Get rid of these. Okay. Doing the same thing a different way, and we're off by like 6. Hey, there we go. Okay. That was pretty good. A little bit of warming up to do, but we got it solved. Okay. Now it's time to we'll commit this as is. Well, my Git history is all terrible. Oh my gosh, Windows. Okay, it's fine. But we got it working. I'll figure that out later, but we got it. Now, to actually understand how this is working. So, first one, what we do and what they ask us to do is they give us a dial that can point at a number between 0 and 99, but it is circular in nature. So, get a circle. There we go, big circle. So 0 right up here, at least in my mind. And then 99 right over here. And then there's a bunch of other numbers, of course. 50 somewhere down here. And apparently, the initial direction is pointing at 50. So this is the device we are given. Then we're given the list of commands about where to rotate it. And I might have actually drawn this inverted, but let's see. Left 68 results in a pointing at 82. I should look at a normal one. Yeah, okay, I might have actually drawn it inverse, but give the command and you rotate that many in that direction. So left 68 would be this way, and then it would take us to 82, which is somewhere around here. So in the picture of my drawing, the left is counterclockwise. But for the purposes of the drawing, it doesn't really matter, or the purposes of the numbers, the drawing doesn't matter. It could be this way, where 0 and 99 are on opposite sides. But I've drawn it this way. So this is what we get. And the idea was to do these rotations and then count how many times it lands on the 0. So eventually it would be like, boom, 0. And then be like, ah, I got another 0 here. You keep that count up until, well, you just keep that count up and then you return how many times it landed on 0. Programmatically, how we did that, we get rid of the big one, so don't blow up our console log, is we set the initial direction to 0. This is honestly a poor name. I'm going to rename it already. Rename. It's the angle of the dial. I'll go even further. Dial angle. Yeah, this is the angle. It's pointing at 50. And this is rename. Times landed on 0. There we go. Now that we're actually going through it, it can be made readable. Crazy. And then what we do is we go through each of the, what do they call them? Instructions, commands, rotations. There we go. So I'm going to rename this to raw rotation. And then now we can rename this to direction. And then what's the second one they call it? Amount. Follow a rotation of L10. Okay, I have to go up a little bit. Distance is what they term it. Okay, this is distance. There we go. These up while we're going through this. So we get the direction from the first character. Let me spit this out. Raw rotation, as you can see, it is at minimum 2 characters. First character is always L or R. The rest of the characters is the number representing the distance. So we can pull that out. I don't know, keeps importing that. With the direction, by getting the 0th character of the string. And then distance here slices off everything but the first thing. So what this does, there you go. So it basically takes the string and says, I want every character after the first one. Then you use this little sneaky unary plus operator to convert that to a number, a little code golfy, and we get the direction and the distance in 2 separate variables. I did kind of zoom over this, but data is the entire string. To show that off, as you see, it's here. It's got these new lines. It could also have carriage return \r because I'm on Windows and things are weird. But I do a .trim to get rid of it, and then I split it on the new line character. So each line of the text file or the string is a separate string. Catch up on where we were now. I now say if the direction is left or counterclockwise, or it's the way that I want the number that you're applying to go down, so I want it to have a negative effect, I flip it. So I literally make it a negative effect. I want distance. There we go. Which you see turns the L's into their negative variants. I then take that, I add it to the dial angle. I'll show before and after. You can see for some of them, it just adds to them, and for some of them, it subtracts. So it makes sure that they go in this direction if they're left, or this direction if they're right. Of course, I then did the laziest form of math possible. I originally had this as an if, but in order to support numbers, or distances as they call it, that are very big, 899, this needs to be a while. So it says while it's an illegal number. So this is basically saying while it's overflown mathematically, of like, hey, you're like over here somewhere, but mathematically you're like 125. but 125 is not a real number. So we need you to minus 100. So you can turn back into what is a valid number on the dial, 25. And that's what this does. The while part is to handle, well, you're 1,025. You need to get subtracted 100 like 10 times. Is this the best way of doing it? No. It is the most logical way of doing it, though. And when I refactor this, I'm going to chuck in the old remainder or modulo, whatever that particular operator is, get a little fancy with it. This is done in both directions, obviously. Then, whenever the dial angle does hit our big zero, we're actually looking for, we increment our counter, and we end up returning our counter at the end. So that's one solution. In hindsight, it's day one, so it's not going to be the most complicated thing in the world, but definitely a good one. And I am definitely going to want to be visualizing this somehow, but won't do that until tomorrow. 2 is a little bit more involved, primarily because of me and my bad math. So I still don't understand exactly which piece of my math is bad, but it's math, so I know it's bad in some direction. But before we get into the poor solution, let's see what they actually changed the problem on. So what they want us to track now is not the number of times we land on zero. So like boom, we landed on zero. Count that. They want us to count the number of times we go past zero. Boom. So our first rotation, like rotate left 68 or counterclockwise in my graph, we rotate and boom, we're pointing at 82, but we pointed at zero for like one tick of the dial. So tick, 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 tick. That would have increased our counter. Logically, that's the only change they made. Yeah, the problem didn't really change much aside from that. The solution, however, I was fighting for my life. So, for mathematical reasons, this doesn't handle it. Again, maybe I'll have an epiphany next time, but I didn't. So I was trying to reduce the complication, right? More things you do fancily, more chances there are things can break. So simplify it out. So the only change here, and I'll rename this to, that didn't work. Be like the rest. What did I call it? Times, oh my gosh. Times pointed at zero. There we go. And yep, just finish this up. Rotation. Direction. And distance. Okay. Everything is identical for these first 4 lines. Nothing has changed. What changed is how I actually move the, what is this thing called? The arrow, the pointer, the dial. The dial, what the dial is pointing at. So while before I jumped by however many there were, so like I didn't physically rotate it 68 times to get to here. I just, boom, I teleported, right? So, boop, boop, and then I just did the math for, did I land on zero? Unfortunately, me and my big math brain was not able to figure out at least 6 edge cases in which just doing the teleportation of making it go from 50 to here, I'm using this example because it's on the graph, and just counting, did I cross the zero? Unfortunately, my previous solution, I wasn't able to figure that out. So what I did instead was, I'm just going to manually make the dial point to every single position. 50, 49, 48, blah, 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 3, 2, 1, 0. And then as soon as it points to 0, I count it, and then it keeps on ticking. Is this performant? Heck no. Is the math solution better? Heck yeah. Do I know what that's gonna look like? Also, heck no. It's working, it's functional. The logic for the roll arounds did end up turning to be identical. I could drop the if not doing it in bulk, but it's functional. I can make sure like a lot of this looked like what it did before. Go. So this just says, hey, for every single distance, we're gonna do this. We don't even need the I here technically. I'm actually gonna get rid of the I because it's misleading. There we go. This is just do this thing this distance number of times. And then I change the angle by determining which, if I'm going left, I'm going counterclockwise, so it's negative. If I'm going right, it's clockwise, so in my world, it is positive. Now, this is something I can easily improve by shoving that in a variable. Easy one right there. What is this distance? That doesn't need to be let. It just got left over. That one need to be a let because we actually flip it to a negative. But yeah, this has not really, like I said, it's the more manual way of the way above, but functionally identical. And perhaps tomorrow I'll be able to point out, come back with what edge cases I was missing 6 for. Also, when they did give the little hint at the end of watch out, they gave a specific edge case of like this thing could be trouble. I instantly grabbed that, made its own test case. Didn't end up needing to. It didn't end up being a problem, but still made it nonetheless. So that is it, relatively cleaned up. Now I'm going to actually see how far I'd like to refactor this. So the only logical difference between the two is, do we have this check here or down here outside the loop? Everything else is identical. The math is better here, more efficient. So the refactor is really this function with a determiner of, do you want pointed at or landed on? Let's see what terms they use. I'll make this somewhat generic. It returned both. So rename. Actually leave that one there. Times landed on. I can spell. And then landed on is this one here. Then this function will simply return both. I don't really like these things anymore. Now this will double count for a point and a land. Oh, I said that. There we go. But it will easily be resolvable. So we have this generic one that we should be able to replace our call to solve one from. Solve data, and then let's see, this was landed, so this should be the easy one, requiring no extra work. There's no double counting. Bada boom, bada bang. This is the one I'm going to expect it to fail on. And we'll need both the numbers. There we go. So we have no TypeScript with us because I am explicitly typing this as an any. Well, that's my problem, isn't it? Yeah, that number is wrong. I wonder. I'm curious what results is. If I can just be lazily and subtract. But pointed at 0 is what I want. I guess mathematically that actually does what I want. Pointed at 0 is landed at 0 plus the other variance. It's better. We reduce the duplication. These terms are not the best. But both solutions share a base. If I want, I could make this even cleaner. I don't want to, though. It's a nice 3 lines all together. Nothing wrong with them. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, I know for this one, let me think. Well, now that I'm doing it one by one, it actually wouldn't be easy to modulo, have this wrap around. So this is the most readable and simple way for it, so I'll keep it like that. Does the distance matter? It matters for that. Okay. Well, I believe that is a successful day one. Yeah. Exciting to be back. Look forward to seeing what the other 11 days give us. And tomorrow I should be able to jump on either earlier or stay on later, and definitely going to be an easy win visualizing this little dial solver here. Until then, have a good night. See you tomorrow.